evening, Eswatini, and welcome to the News Bulletin at 8, brought to you by your #1 news provider, Eswatini TV. My name is Nondomiso Vilagati. First, let us have a look at today's headlines. His Majesty King Mswati III has received letters of credence from the Ambassador-designate of the United States of America and the High Commissioner-designate of the Republic of South Africa to Eswatini. The High Commissioner-designate of the Republic of South Africa has laid out her mandate. His Majesty King Mswati III has appointed 4 Industrial Court of Appeal judges and 2 Supreme Court judges. And now, the news in detail. His Majesty King Mswati III says Eswatini is looking into safe ways of opening up the economy and other key sectors. The King says this has to be done with extreme caution in order to ensure the safety of the nation. His Majesty was speaking at Lozita Palace where he received letters of credence from the Ambassador-designate of the United States of America to Eswatini and High Commissioner-designate of the Republic of South Africa to Eswatini.
Excellency. Please, Your Excellency.
Thank you.
First to arrive at Lozita Palace to present letters of credence to His Majesty King Mswati III was the new United States of America ambassador to Eswatini, Jean Meloni, a seasoned diplomat who has served for 27 years under 5 presidents and worked in 5 continents. From the onset, Her Excellency assured His Majesty that Eswatini has a steadfast partner in the United States, which became evident when the United States invested 82 million emalangeni in emergency assistance to Eswatini since the COVID-19 pandemic began, and that President Joe Biden's administration will do more to assist Eswatini respond to the COVID crisis.
Oi, trip, no part. Your Majesty, may I please present the Ambassador-designate from the United States of America. Your Majesty, please.
Since the pandemic began, the U.S. has provided $5.6 million in emergency assistance. We're also working to do more, addressing Eswatini's medical oxygen shortage, better equipping healthcare workers to respond to the health crisis, and supporting national vaccine implementation. COVID-19 has shown that no nation can act alone in the face of a pandemic. Last month, President Biden announced that the United States would be contributing up to $4 billion to COVAX to support the equitable distribution of vaccines. Your Majesty, we're going to get through this together. As we emerge from the pandemic, we also have a shared interest in economic recovery. We're already working with your government to identify opportunities for increased trade and investment. And I look forward to continuing to strengthen the relationship between our 2 countries based on the foundation of mutual respect and shared values. Ngiyabonga. Your Majesty. Thank you.
Your Excellency and your whole delegation, it is a great pleasure for me to welcome you and to receive the letters of credency by which His Excellency, the President, accredits you as your country's ambassador here in the Kingdom of Eswatini.
His Majesty informed the ambassador that Eswatini is in the process of opening up the economy and other key sectors. His Majesty says this has to be done with extreme caution.
We are in the process here in the kingdom to look at how we open up. So far, the business sector has been a bit active, but there are many others which have not been very active. The social activities like schools, churches, just to name a few, and other institutions, just life in general to go back to normalcy. It is something as the kingdom we are trying to see how we can get back. But as I mentioned, that we have to do it with caution. While we are trying to open up the kingdom, we must be extremely careful not to endanger ourselves. The kingdom will give you every support that you need whilst you carry out your duties as an ambassador. We take you up a renewal of our friendship between the United States of America and the Kingdom of Eswatini. I wish you all the best, and I trust you'll make many, many new friends here in the kingdom. Thank you very much.
On the news, I'm Sandile Makanya reporting with Temba Mamba at Lozita Palace.
His Majesty King Mswati III also received credence letters from the High Commissioner Designate of the Republic of South Africa, who laid out her mandate before His Majesty.
If the remarks by the newly appointed South Africa High Commissioner to Eswatini, Advocate Thokozile Simpala, are anything to go by, then relations between Eswatini and South Africa are about to reach an all-time high. When she presented her letters of credence to His Majesty King Mswati III, Her Excellency laid out her mandate before His Majesty. She informed the King that Eswatini stands to benefit from a donation of $25 million, which was announced by Africa's largest mobile operator, MTN, in support of the African Union's COVID-19 vaccine program.
I took no part. Your Majesty, may I please present the High Commissioner Designate from the Republic of South Africa. Your Majesty, please.
The South African company, MTN, with the AU and the announced donation of the US dollars, $25 million to support the AU's COVID-19 vaccine. As the program that has been announced, the donation will assist in securing up to 7 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine, of which countries such as Eswatini fit, as advised by scientists. It is through vaccination that our countries could defeat this enormous giant by reaching population immunity.
The High Commissioner says one of her key mandates of the Joint Bilateral Commission of Cooperation between Eswatini and South Africa and the establishment of the first ever Eswatini-South Africa Chamber of Commerce.
Furthermore, Your Majesty, economic diplomacy continues to be a crucial instrument in encouraging trade and investment among countries, with the aim of growing our struggling economies, thereby creating job opportunities for our people. In this regard, during my time in Eswatini, I intend to create the first ever Eswatini South Africa Chamber of Commerce, where the business sector would have the opportunity to engage, develop trade leads, and encourage the convening of business-to-business meetings.
His Majesty congratulated South Africa on being among the first countries to acquire COVID vaccines and on being granted a license to manufacture one of the world's most important vaccines.
We were encouraged to also learn that South Africa has developed a facility which, of course, will now produce its own vaccine. We are very happy that our neighbor has produced a facility. It is clear that the COVID's problem is also giving us a lot of timing to think and to see how we can overcome this problem by this facility, by developing this new facility. Obviously, it's clear that it would have not been for this problem of COVID, and now South Africa has this facility where you are producing vaccines, and we are looking forward that we can even cooperate in those areas as not just the kingdom. We are members of the SACU, members of SADC, members of the AU. We do trust that this facility could work very closely with most countries here within the region.
On the news, I'm Sandile Makanya reporting with Mxolisi Mavimbela at Lozita Palace.
His Royal Highness Prince Manzile has officially launched the International Bureau for Epilepsy Africa Epilepsy Advocacy Toolkit. During the launch, which was virtual, His Royal Highness made a statement which was followed in Africa and the world.
His Royal Highness launched the toolkit alongside the former President of Malawi, Dr. Joyce Banda, who is the International Bureau for Epilepsy Africa Ambassador, and a highly influential panel of highly acclaimed stakeholders who lead from the front in spreading awareness about epilepsy. His Royal Highness has risen to prominence as an influential voice in epilepsy awareness in Africa and beyond, as patron of Eswatini Epilepsy Organization and chairperson of Africa Epilepsy Trust Fund. His Royal Highness says the launch of the toolkit is the beginning of systematic advocacy.
Firstly, let me thank all those who are involved in the production of the advocacy toolkit, the International Bureau for Epilepsy Africa chapters, the Toolkit Steering Committee, and the Advocacy Committee of IPE Africa. I know that a lot of work had to be done and also a lot of resources were used for this production. I therefore want to thank Band Foundation, specifically Cardinal Lafam, for the continued support that you are providing to epilepsy in Africa. Take this to the Board of Trustees and tell them that we are thankful and appreciate their support. To all advocates present here and those following us using different platforms, note that this is the beginning of systematic advocacy. Let us soldier on without letting up. Her Excellency Dr. Joyce Banda pledged, I will always be available to support epilepsy work at any level. With that said, I am confident that with this toolkit, epilepsy work in Africa will never be the same. It is therefore my pleasure and honor on behalf of the International Bureau for Epilepsy Africa region and all its partners that I declare the Africa Epilepsy Advocacy Toolkit officially launched.
During the same launch, Lewis Furnitures donated 30,000 Malangeni to Eswatini Epilepsy Organization.
On behalf of the company, I'm here to represent this donation of 30,000 check to the organization that could be a helping hand to the organization and the entire people that are being affected by this epilepsy.
It is a great pleasure and honor that today we're here to receive some donations from Lewis. Firstly and foremost, we'd like to thank God Almighty that we are all still here, still alive, even though we are facing a very deadly disease that is taking a lot of lives and a lot of challenges. But this time around, with all of the challenges, Lewis still saw it fit to give that little token they can give to us as epilepsy. For us, it means a lot. It might be little, but it means a lot, not just because we want to help the epileptic people, but also because of the times now for companies, governments, a lot of economies are working on a very low gear at the moment because of the COVID-19 pandemic that has attacked the whole world. But Lewis has saw it fit that with the little they have brought us forward this token. We really appreciate it. And we also encourage other companies in Eswatini to continue with the donation. It shows that we're all still one with the mission of manifesting His Majesty's vision and wish that all Eswatini are well taken care of at a very good level. We really appreciate the small gift donation you have done to epilepsy organization.
On the news, I'm Sandile Makanya reporting Dzolo Masuku at Eswatini Royal Residence.
His Majesty King Mswati III has appointed 4 Industrial Court of Appeal judges and 2 Supreme Court judges. The King has also appointed Lillian Xolile as the Anti-Corruption Commission's Deputy Commissioner Administration.
It has pleased His Majesty the King and Ingwenyama to make the following judicial appointments in accordance with the Constitution. 1. Lillian Xolile as Deputy Commissioner Administration, Anti-Corruption. Justice Dumsan Mazibuko as Judge of the Industrial Court of Appeal. Justice Nkonyane Nkosinati as Judge of the Industrial Court of Appeal. Advocate Margriet van der Walt as Judge of the Industrial Court of Appeal. Justice Sifiso Sibanze as Judge President of the Industrial Court of Appeal. Justice Nkululeko Jerry Hlophe as Judge of the Supreme Court. Sabelo Johannes Matsebula as Judge of the Supreme Court. These appointments are with immediate effect.
In our breaking news, Acting Prime Minister Themba Masuku has announced that the partial lockdown will be extended by another 2 weeks. The Prime Minister made this announcement in a press briefing which was held in the Cabinet offices this evening. The extension comes into effect tonight at midnight.
Almost 2 months ago, we involuntarily found ourselves having to effect new COVID-19 partial lockdown restrictions in yet another concerted effort to contain the devastating effects of the second wave of the pandemic. It is gratifying to note that since the new restrictions came into effect, there has been a notable decline in both the number of new infections and as well as an increase in the number of recoveries. These results can be attributed to the unity demonstrated by Eswatini in the ongoing battle against this deadly scourge. However, even with the numbers going down, we cannot afford to let our guard down as a country, not even for a minute, especially with the threat of a third wave hanging over us. It remains vital that we continue to observe all COVID-19 health protocols in order to manage the situation. These include wearing face masks correctly at all times in the public spaces, observing social distancing protocols, particularly with running water and soap, and avoiding unnecessary travel. It is also crucial that we ensure that all systems are in place to contain the forthcoming third wave, which epidemiologists have warned us might be even more deadlier. The World Health Organization has issued a warning to all countries to restrain themselves from loosening their current measures willy-nilly to avoid an uncontrollable surge of infections once again. If anything, the second wave has shown us the true character of this unpredictable enemy and its vicious nature. We cannot afford to be found wanting, and neither can we afford to lose more lives. Government is currently finalizing the necessary plans and structures to withstand the expected severe effects of the projected third wave. We have put in place the necessary interventions that will ensure Eswatini are relatively safe from the virus and that our children can safely return to school and be adequately cared for in case of emergencies. Putting together these interventions is not simply but a process that is more involving, and it is now being finalized. When we invoked the last extension 2 weeks ago, we had also hoped that we would have received the first batch of COVID-19 vaccines to start vaccinating our health workers and frontline staff. This is important. This process has also been delayed due to unforeseen circumstances, but we have intensified our efforts to access the vaccines as soon as practicably possible to start the vaccination exercise. It is for these reasons that His Majesty's government has taken the tough yet necessary decision to extend the COVID-19 partial lockdown restrictions by a further 2 weeks effective midnight today. The risks of the situation we're faced with cannot be underestimated. This virus threatens our very own lives and as a nation, including that of our children, our precious resource. A year ago, we never anticipated as a country and the world that we would be in this predicament, nor had we expected to be still.
On another note, in the extended partial lockdown, the sale of alcohol and religious gatherings remains strictly prohibited.
The propensity to regularly change its colors.
Moving on with the news, the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Polile Shakantu, has praised the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, for consistently supporting Eswatini in the kingdom's development endeavours. Minister Shakantu said this when receiving ICT equipment, furniture worth an estimate of 1 million emalangeni to the ministry and its subsidiary institutions. The equipment was presented by UNDP country representative Rose Sebatindira.
The ICT equipment that includes video conferencing facilities, Zoom licenses, laptops, printers and office furniture is estimated at 1 million emalangeni and was presented to the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs and its subsidiary institutions in support of this agenda. Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs Polile Shakantu says the equipment came at a time where the country is faced with a slow economic performance, having an impact in the operations of the ministry and the government at large.
We appreciate the partnership that we've had with the UNDP. I think in the last year, most of the activities that we had were due to the support that we received from the UNDP.
UNDP resident representative Rose Sebatindira says social media has become more relevant in this era where COVID-19 pandemic continues to prove that we live in very uncertain times that require resilience and the ability to adapt swiftly.
This is the first phase of our broader partnership that we hope to realize under your leadership as we roll out our new UNDP country program 2021-2025 that will include capacity support to the newly formed law review unit as it begins the significant task of the alignment of laws.
Human Rights Deputy Commissioner Duduzile Dlamini says the office furniture came at a time when the human rights offices were in dire need of the furniture.
Despite the efforts invested, there are still a number of gaps and capacity constraints that the Commission is faced with. It is therefore a pleasure to have entities that like the UNDP who are able to provide support to mitigate these gaps.
UNDP further says the digitalization agenda is therefore no doubt the way to go and is a pillar of the strategic roadmap of 2018-2023 and Vision 2022. For Eswatini TV News, Zodwa Dlamini, Mbonga Dube, Babane.
Welcome once again. You are still watching Eswatini TV, and for your sports update tonight, former Sihlangu and Kaizer Chiefs goalkeeper William Shongwe says many soccer players tend to make job security their topmost priority, yet this mentality in many cases then prevents players from pursuing football as a profession in top leagues. Shongwe says many players are wary of life after football, hence many strive to secure jobs first, with football coming as an alternative.
In the past, it was every player's dream to turn pro and play in a more professional league. Many players opted to go play in South Africa where the opportunities were better. Many players going back to the likes of Skaratindwa, William Shongwe, and in most recent cases, the likes of Dennis Masina, Spusiso Dlamini and Cesar Dlamini, to mention but a few, had a successful stint in South Africa. Over the past few years, few Emaswati have been able to cross the border and claim their stake in the highly competitive league in Africa. Former Sihlangu and Kaizer Chiefs goalkeeper William Shongwe, who currently works for SuperSports TV, says the reason we have few Emaswati playing in South Africa is because of securities first. Shongwe says the players look for job securities, hence they will want to play for the armed forces locally, which will guarantee them a job after their career is over, and then they end up not wanting to go play in South Africa or any other country, even though South Africa is the most lucrative league in Africa. But the job security is a priority for them.
Ngiko ke sokuthola ukuthi abasibaningi ngalokuthi eSwatini sebathulele lithuba ukuthi badlalele the armed forces, ngikhuluma nyamaphoyisa ngiphinde ngikhulume ne-correctional service. So lokho ke kuyakwenda ukuthi nabathulele leyo umsebenzi loyo bangasakwadi ukuthi bese baba comfortable lokuthi bangasathi hluphi ukuthi babuke ama greener pastures because already they are set in as far as life is concerned ngoba after retirement from football badawuthola imisebenzi baqhubeka bahola, life goes on. So ngicabanga ukuthi ke kimi ngiloko lokwente kakhulu base bayashoda badlali.
Shonga says he doesn't think that it is down to quality because many Emaswati are talented and they can hold their own in South Africa. Currently, there are 2 Emaswati playing in the DStv Premiership, being Felix Bedinghorst and Justice Fikareti, who are both playing for TX Galaxy. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizo MCB with Linda Dlamini. Babane.
This brings us to the end of our news bulletin tonight. Up next is the weather forecast for selected towns. Good night, Eswatini.